Hi, good evening everybody. Those who are watching from home, thank you so much for joining us today.
Hi guys.
Hi, so today we are representing the Edge Agency Management, talking about life after death. What are we leaving behind for our loved ones, especially things like inheritance, topics like wills and nominations. So today we have with us Bastian, Jessie, Jessica and Clarence.
What's up?
Yeah, oh my iPad. Yeah, so thank you so much for joining us today for our very first live webinar from the Edge Agency Management. So of course, whatever that we talk about today in terms of the topics and the opinions from us are not representation of Prudential. So why are we doing this topic today? Just a recent article, just not too long ago, in August, somewhere a couple of days ago, Straits Times mentioned almost half of Singaporeans do not have their will written and sorted out. 48%. This actually poses potential problems actually for the society down the road.
A lot of people.
Because these are not settled. So the potential problems are things like family disputes. People are fighting for assets, inheritance. You can see in the news, all those Hong Kong drama. So that is the reason why we realize that this is a potential problem and hence the live webinar today. But of course, along the way, if you have any burning questions, we got Q&A session later. All right. So before we move on, those who have not done your will, have not done anything, we fall under the 48%, what will happen? Bastian, enlighten us a little bit about intestacy law. What happens when these things happen?
Right, so thanks Edwin for the great introduction. So as what Edwin mentioned, right, based on the article on the previous slide, you can see over there's a subtitle that says, if you die without a will, the government will be the one who administer and distribute your assets. So there's this law which is the intestacy law. So as you can see, this is a framework done up by the government. So there are like total of 9 scenarios. So if I give a quick example, right? So let's say me and my spouse, I do have my parents and I do have any children. If I move on, that means I pass on, 100% will be given to my spouse. But what if I have children? So in the eyes of this intestacy law, it will be split equally. Spouse 50, children 50%.
Half-half lah.
Half-half, correct. But that's the thing, because often or not children, right, there is this area of concern whereby they might mishandle the assets left behind for them because they are still young and they haven't fully, understand how to handle this kind of big assets that you left behind after you're gone.
So they might spend the inheritance money and splurge it on things that is not important as well. So of course we have case study at the back, but as you can see in this diagram, courtesy of Smart Wealth, as you can see, if let's say nothing has been done, and if you feel that you have no loved ones to leave behind because you're alone and single, and that's fine, and if you have a charity organization that you strongly believe in, do remember that something has to be allocated, otherwise the government will take it all. Akong take everything.
Yeah.
Unless if you don't mind that, then of course that's fine, but today we are here to talk about what happens if nothing is done, correct? But what is the first step that we can do for our viewers today as well as for our clients? The very basic first steps, LPA. What's LPA, Bastian?
Right, so LPA stands for Lasting Power of Attorney. In short, this is done when we are still around, right? So this is different from will, just to clarify on that. So let's say for donor, who are donors? We, us. We all can be donors, right? As long as we are 21 years old and above. But who are we appointing? Those people, they are your donees. It can be a person, it can be a group of people. Depends on you, right? So what do you appoint them for? The thing is, we are giving them this power that if in the event of us losing our mental capacity,
for example, like dementia, due to old age.
We can't make the decision, they will make for us. So the donees, they will make the decision for us in 2 areas. Number 1 is your personal welfare. Number 2 is your property and affairs matters, right? But let's say if you appoint a group of people,
okay,
right, there's
3 to 4 people.
3 to 4 people, for example. There's 2 areas that there's 2 areas that you will cover, which is for them, right? There's this scenario of jointly scenario whereby they have to act together. They cannot act separately. Another scenario is they can choose to act together or separately.
As you can see in the bottom left of the screen, jointly, and the second scenario, jointly and severally. Correct. So, for example, just a simple case study. Last year, sometime in November, before my grandmother passed on, she was experiencing slight dementia. So before the condition got worsened, we went to do an LPA with her, and we did it our family doctor, general practitioner, our family doctor for many years, and they are able to issue this LPA. So my parents became the donee and they took charge of her personal welfare as well as her affairs and properties. So that is just one example for you to better understand. But perhaps Jessica, enlighten the audience, who can actually issue this LPA, sorry.
So who can issue LPA, right? So basically the first one will be accredited medical practitioner. Secondly will be lawyer. Thirdly will be psychiatric. So to ensure the donor are not under pressure or duress. Yeah.
Right, make sure that they're not gonna psycho.
Yeah, not enforced. Yeah,
okay.
true.
To add on to Jess' part, so once you done up your this LPA application, you have to submit to this place, which is the Office of the Public Guardian. So you can do it by post or by hand. And one thing we found out, right, is that there's this application fee you have to pay for that. So this is a separate thing from the
aside from the professional
lawyers
fees
and everything, right? So this application fee, it costs about $75. Good news. From now till March 2023, is waived off.
free.
Yeah, so it's free. So if you, this is the government's act to encourage us to do it now. But if you feel rich, then
Of course, by waiving this all the way to next year, end of March 2023, as you can see, this is the government step to encourage us to do LPA at least, because this is very important.
it's the base.
Yeah, this is the basic. But of course, the fees, those who are watching is curious. Of course, it range from $50 all the way to $400 and up, depending on what kind of professional service you engage. Of course, the most affordable method is your family doctor's general practitioner. It takes less than 30 minutes. You can call the clinic for appointment. Otherwise, if you've got your own family lawyers, feel free to go ahead as well. But of course, LPA is a basic thing that can be done when the client is of a sound mind before everything goes haywire.
Yeah.
The burning topic today is will. Very big topic, will. Will and nomination, our header.
Yeah.
Just share with us, what is a will briefly,
Okay, so
before we move on into detail.
So actually a will, right, is a legal document that actually set out how you wish to distribute your wealth after death. Yeah, so like what Bastian has mentioned earlier on, right, assuming in a situation whereby a married couple and then they were to stay separated, then by interstate law, 50% of the wealth is to the wife and the remaining 50% is to be distributed among the children, right? But if this is not what you want, then you have to do a will. Yeah, so in fact, doing a will actually helps to hold your instruction on who you want to pass the asset to, and at the same time, how you want your asset to be distributed accordingly.
Like a manual like that for the
Yes,
family members.
correct. So in fact, it's very, very important. And it actually helps to legally protect your family, and also in the future to prevent any like dramatic family dispute or things like funeral arrangement can be well communicated via will as well. Yes, correct. And something to take note, right? Even if today you have done a will, you cannot just take the will and then go up to the bank or go up to the insurance company and take the money straight away. So in fact, you have to apply this thing called the grant of probate, which we will be sharing more in a little few slides.
Later we'll go into detail.
That's right.
Will is quite important, you know. Like you see the next slide, right? On the article, right, this family actually inherited $1 million from the passing husband, you know, but they actually spent it all away in a year. So $1 million is actually
1 million in 1 year.
yeah, it's a lot of money, you know, to most of us.
Yeah,
actually.
it is.
You know, so actually having a will actually allow you to actually set instructions to make sure that funds are not mishandled, or if to your knowledge you realize that this certain family member have this tendency to spend a bit more than usual, then you can actually give your money in milestones and whatnot, so you can prevent this from happening. Or even the next article, where you can see that family feuds, like 溏心风暴, you know, like, wow, everybody
Hong Kong
fight-
drama.
Yeah.
drama and everybody fight over different estates or not. Having a will is not like foolproof, or people can say can challenge, but that aside, all you're trying to do is to minimize the cost. You know, so at the end of the day, we want to make sure that when we do a will, we leave behind peace and not problems.
I mean, all these family dispute, very disturbing also when we see on the news. And these are all large sums of money that
Yeah, exactly.
actually is life-changing. $1 million is life-changing to a lot of Singaporeans.
A lot.
Correct? So if it's not handled well, like for example, a relative can't borrow money from you, you buy a house, you buy a sports car, for example, just an example, it's going to be gone overnight.
Exactly.
Correct?
Yes.
never about the money, but the way someone handles it.
Correct.
Exactly.
Financial literacy, that's very important. So we leave it to the professionals, and then that is where the will comes in. So how does the will work?
So first and foremost, you've got to really write down what you want and how you want the will to be done.
The most important part.
Exactly. So your direction, of course, engage a lawyer. They will actually guide you through how to actually distribute or not. Next, you're gonna have an asset number. Witnesses. Again, like what Bastian and Jessica actually mentioned, this witness should be there to just make sure you do it without any pressure and you're of course of sound mind. Okay. After that, the executor will actually gather our documents and execute them for you. What executors, all these jargons, these roles, I'll hold that thought, we'll cover that in a bit, right? Then, of course, you apply for the court order, and once they approve, first thing first, you don't get your money immediately. Everything got to pay off all your liabilities first. Then after that, the remaining goes to your
Beneficiaries.
Beneficiaries.
So owe money must pay money first.
Exactly. So if you owe a lot of money, actually nothing left.
Yeah, so liability is very important. Clearly,
Exactly.
then your loved ones gets to enjoy the whole thing.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So what goes inside the will?
So what goes inside the
Lot of
will,
things,
as I mentioned just now, two things. Your asset, your liabilities. Got to know. So what you have and what you owe. Next, who are the beneficiaries that's going to get all this, benefiting from this, number one, right? After that, there will be the executors, who are the ones that help you execute this will. Then the professionals with lawyers and accountants. All these people will guide you through proper step by step to make sure you are guided properly. And last but not least, quite important, not too sure if many know this, you need to have the revocation clause and the residuary clause. So what are these two? Number one is to make sure that your will, should you want to revoke will or change your will, is possible, because sometimes we change our mind. Yeah. Then after that, residuary clause is to make sure that just in case the beneficiary intended actually passed on earlier than
For the person donating.
Exactly. Then what happens? That becomes a remainder. So actually these are quite important, and this is something that I don't think a lot of people think about, which is, example, there's this article that mentioned this family went on a trip together. So actually the parents fly, but the kid never fly. Yeah, so the parents flew, long story short, the
aeroplane.
Yeah, the aeroplane. And then the plane actually unfortunately crashed and both actually passed on. So together at the same time. So they tried to really understand who passed on first, but because together
But cannot tell in the plane.
exactly, you can't tell. So long story short, according to the law, if you're older, you deem as you pass on first. So 50% go to the wife and then 50% to the child. Then after that, follow the wife's intestacy law, where you shift to 15% to the parents and remainder to the kid. Yeah, so these are things that you need to think about should such situation happens. Or even similar ones is, example, if you have a spouse and you pass on earlier, your estate passed to your spouse, and then if he or she find a new partner, how would that turn out?
For example, they remarry.
Yeah. Are you comfortable with that? So all these are things that, food for thought. You need to understand this.
So I think to sum up what Clarence said is, if you don't do anything, they will, if let's say both pass on at the same time, they will see who is the older person
Correct.
first,
Yeah.
then you go through that, and then
Correct.
followed by the spouse.
Yep, correct.
And the next point is, a lot of situation, a lot of scenario can happen,
Yes.
and how we want to map out this situation so that we are able to have a peace of mind. For example, touch wood. If you pass on, are you okay with your spouse remarrying, and will the assets go to the future spouse?
Exactly.
So I think these are things that are very touchy and not things that we sleep and wake up from the bed and
Yeah,
think
you don't
about
think about
it.
it every day, actually.
Yeah, correct. So of course, many things go into the will. We also have things that don't go into the will, that don't classify under the will as well. So there's three different, as you can see in the next slide. The first one, assets held as joint tenant. For example, real estate, joint investments, or even joint bank accounts. This will not be distributed and can't be included in the will. Second, most of us have CPF monies. And last but not least, I believe for the viewers, most of them are our clients, insurance trust policies, of which the deceased was the trustees. So actually these three are not distributed in the will, correct?
Yep.
So I think just now Jessie mentioned grant of probate earlier,
Yes.
in the earlier slides. So explain to a little bit in details for the viewers out there, actually what is grant of probate?
Correct. So for grant of probate, right, in fact, we, like I mentioned earlier on, cannot just pass the will to the banks or whatnot. So it's actually a court of order that actually allow the executor to set out, or rather to carry out instructions in the deceased will. And there's this magical number, 50,000.
50,000.
Correct, 50,000. So assuming should your value of your asset, right, is lesser than 50,000, in fact, you don't have to get a grant of probate. What you can do is just to register with a public trustee, and then they will administer your will accordingly.
So more straightforward lah.
More
If let's say less than 50k.
Yes, correct.
So more than 50k now.
No, now if it's more than 50K, then it's necessary to actually file the grant of probate. Yeah. And of course, one more magical number, 3 million.
3 million.
Yes, so there are two magical numbers. So the second one, 3 million. So basically for 3 million, if your asset is lesser than 3 million, right, you have to file this grant of probate with this family justice court. Okay, and assuming if your asset is more than 3 million, then you have to file with family division of high court. Yeah.
Okay, so less than 3 million and more than 3 million, two separate ones.
Two separate.
So there's just two symbols to the date. It's quite simple, right? So number one, we engage a lawyer. So the price range around 1,200 to 5,000. Of course, that depends on how tedious the process is. Or as Jessie mentioned, if the estate is less than 50,000, you can just go to the office for public trustee and get it done already.
Yeah.
So more straightforward lah.
Yes.
So of course, I think mentioned earlier, there's many different roles in the will. For example, executor, trustee.
Yes, quite a lot.
There's beneficiary or even testator.
And witnesses also.
Witnesses also, as I include. So roughly around 5. So I think Jessica can share a little bit about the two main roles actually, executor as well as a trustee.
So I start
The
with
next slide.
executor first, right? Executor will help the plan the disease layout in their last will. Then what are the requirements? So basically the first thing first is they need to be over 21 years old. Then it's not a bankrupt and it's for sound mind.
Yes.
Yeah. Next, right, you can see the checklist. So there are a lot of things that the executor need to do accordingly.
Total 8 things.
Yeah, 8 things. Yeah, from there you can read through basically.
So as you can
Then-
see on the screen.
yeah. So next, then it would be more towards like the executor can be someone that you know personally or a professional executor such as lawyer or a trust company licensed by MAS. So you can appoint 1 up to 4
Wow.
in case that executor pass on or reject the appointments accordingly.
Backup plan.
Yeah, the backup
Yes, backup plan.
So the
Yeah.
executor do a lot of things. The 8
Yeah.
things actually a lot of things. So I have to make sure that everything is executed properly.
Yeah.
Do they get paid?
Actually, if the executor is not a professional executor, right, they are not required to get paid. But according to the Section 66, right, of the Probate of the Administration Act, right, so basically the court may at its discretion give the executor as a 5% commission from the asset collected.
Up to 5%.
Up to 5%. Yeah. Yeah, just a small amount.
So as a commission
Nice.
to execute the rollout.
Yeah.
Okay, understand. So those who are watching, if you are an executor, of course, we don't do it for the money, of course.
Yeah, that's
True
right.
lah.
But there may be a possibility that the court awards a small fee of up to 5% of the whole assets distributed as a commission and in a way gratitude. I would
Yep.
say. So what's the difference between executor and trustee?
So for executor, right, it's managing, then after that pay out the debts. So you can see on these slides, right, it's about trustees. Trustees is to manage the asset and make the proper distribution to the beneficiary. So they don't cover on the debts and the claim expenses.
I see.
Yeah, both they can be the same person, but they are both are very different. Yeah.
Same but different.
Right, so to cover the other 3 is quite straightforward as the name itself it states testator is just us, right? Basically we just have to be 21 years old and above, right? The next one is beneficiaries, the people that you donate the money to.
Yeah.
I would say donate, sorry, distribute the money to and the assets and stuff. And the witnesses, this is very important. The magic number, 2. So you
Another
need
magic number.
Another magic
2.
number. Right, so the process requires 2 witnesses no matter what. Yes.
Of course, a lot of scenarios. This we are talking about if, let's say, the person execute the will. But I think what's more important in the next slide is what if the person die without a will? What if they pass on without a will?
Yep.
As mentioned by Bastian earlier in the first few slides, that is where the Interstate Succession Act will kick in.
Yes.
So the first step is to determine the person's country of residence. The word a bit chim, but generally it's the country of residence.
Yes, that's right.
And secondly is to determine the size of the estate, how big this estate is. It can be from a small amount all the way to millions of dollars. And third is to determine who's the administrator.
Yeah.
And next is to apply for the court order. And the next one is very, very important. Pay off whatever you owe first, the liabilities. Owe money, must pay money first. And lastly, before you reach all the beneficiaries of the intended person that passed on. But of course, this is possible in courtesy of Smart Wealth.
Yeah,
in terms of the information.
For administrator, right, for everybody to know, administrator basically is the person that is entitled the biggest pie of the estate.
In the next
This
slide
person
lah.
automatically will be the administrator.
Yes,
Yeah.
correct. Yeah, like what Clarence has mentioned earlier on. So for wills, right, if you do have a will, that is grant of probate. If you do not have it, then that will be grant of administrations.
Yes.
The person who actually get the probate, right, the administrations, right, in fact will like what Karen has mentioned earlier on, holds the biggest pie of the entire estate. And not only that, this person has to be above 21 years old and have, or rather, do not lack mental capacity. Yeah.
So must have the sound of mind.
Correct.
Yes.
Most
right.
of the time really must have because we don't want to have a dispute where the client is of unsound mind. That one very complicated, especially after the client passed on.
Yes.
But of course, we talk about will, we talk about LPA, and we talk about the intestacy law.
Yes.
In the event they don't have anything. I think what's more relatable for our clients and viewers here today is nominations. Of course, what is nominations? Nominations are mostly for your CPF monies as well as your insurance policies. Something very important. I'm sure some of the viewers or clients have already done it, but those who have not done it, this will enlighten you further, and those who have done it, this will allow you to understand on a deeper level why, as consultants, we urge you to do this as well. Very important.
Yes.
So for nominations, can we have Jessica to let us understand a little bit?
Okay, so nomination, right, are arrangements regarding to who are the nominees that receiving the insurance proceeds in the event of death or permanent disability. So as for nomination, right, do review your nomination every life events, like example, marriage, divorce, death of the nominee, or birth of the child. Yeah, so you will review every live event with your consultant.
Big milestones.
Yeah. So there is two types of nomination. The first one is revocable nomination. Second one is trust nomination. Yeah. Okay.
So maybe next time we talk about the differences.
Yeah, the differences, right?
Yeah, sounds similar.
What are the differences? So firstly, you see on the left-hand side is more towards the trust nomination, right? Trust nomination is only for the spouse and child. Then you lost all the rights. Then the revocable is the opposite side. For anyone, then you still retain the rights to change anytime you want.
Yeah.
So come to think of it, right, for trust nomination, it might sound like you don't win at the end. But actually, it's not the case, right?
Yeah.
So if I give you a scenario, right, so in the event of bankruptcy, creditors will definitely come for your assets.
Yeah.
By doing trust nominations, this refrains them from touching the assets that you want to pass on to your loved ones.
It protects the asset
Yeah.
much more.
Yeah, so it
Protect
doesn't
the
sound as
family.
bad as
Yes.
it-
Protects the family and asset from debtors actually, so
Yeah.
that you don't have to pay off also.
Correct.
But normally it's also for business owner.
Yeah, and then
When
for
you have business
nominations,
done,
I've done for a few of my clients, if you are here, hi, right? So for nominations, basically, it's quite a very simple process. You just need to make sure you know who you are giving your money to in percentages, and find two of your closest friend or family member, if they're not a beneficiary, to be your witness. Do it for you. In 10-15 minutes, you are actually done already. And usually we'll go for the revocable one, just in case you want to make any switch in between.
Yeah.
So we will go into detail how the nomination process will be like. And as you can see on the screen here, these are the two differences of what categories fall under trust nomination as well as revocable nomination. Of course, most of the things that we do possess fall mostly under the revocable nomination. But if this part, if you're unsure or is a bit too complicated for you, feel free to approach your consultant. Any one of us, we will be more than happy to take it offline to go into detail with you. But that's for the nomination part. But what's more important on the next slide is unclaimed proceeds. Of course, we spoke about nominations, will, as well as all the different methods. What is unclaimed proceeds? I'm very sure most of us, or every one of us, have insurance policies. We got ourselves covered.
Yes.
What's the worst thing if we pay so much premiums and our loved ones don't get to enjoy the proceeds?
Yes.
So that is called unclaimed proceeds. If your family members or your loved ones are unaware of your policies, technically they will not be able to enjoy these proceeds, and it goes unclaimed.
Yeah.
So from this website, as you can see, from MOF, there's a link there. You're able to access the link and touch wood if your family member passed on. This is where you can really find out if, let's say, they have left anything behind for their policies that may be bought decades ago, very long ago.
In case you all don't know. then-
Correct. In case you don't know, the hard copy lost, you won't have their sync pass and all. So on the next slide as well, this is the website of unclaimed monies. You can access it. Of course, if you are unable to access it, or you can screenshot. If not, we can take it offline as well. So this is where you are able to find out if your loved ones have actually left anything behind from insurance proceeds. But I think what's more important is, in the event, of course, we don't want to wait.
We don't want to reach here,
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
So that's why reviews with our consultants are very, very important. And of course, as clients, you will wish that your consultants know your loved ones as well. So in the event, touch wood, something happened, that is where the proceeds will go to your family to tie them through this difficult period. So reviews are done very closely, and it's very important for loved ones to know what you got covered as well, and vice
Agents
versa.
are also.
Yeah.
Because something happened, actually someone got to tell us that something happened. If not,
Yeah.
actually we wouldn't know. You know, sometimes you don't
You won't
reply.
receive a
then we thought you're-
notification that says someone.
Yeah.
Exactly. Then sometimes we text you, you don't reply. We understand you're
Yeah.
busy, you know. But if really something serious happened, someone got to actually inform us, hey, something really happened. Then we will know. If not, we actually
Emergency contact list.
Exactly.
Because we don't want your premiums to go to waste, and to make sure that your family goes through this difficult period in the smoothest form. But of course, before we end off in the last slide is estate planning is an important and everlasting gift that you can give your family. After all the topics that we talked about today, I think to drive home the main point is to make sure that when we are still around and we are of sound mind, make sure that the asset allocations are done properly. If along the way in the coming years you have any change of mind, of course we can always do it again. But most importantly, is not to do anything at all. That's really the worst thing that it can be done. Family dispute, we don't want to leave this place with our families all fighting for just money that we will work so hard for. Thank you so much for joining us on the Edge Agency Management on the very, very first live webinar. We'll be holding more webinars down the road, and we'll have client servicing events as well. Do keep a lookout. Our consultant will reach out to you and broadcast to you.
Yes.
Of course, we have events on and on every month. But if you do have any burning question after this webinar, feel free to text your consultant and we are able to assist you offline, have an appointment, and get your nomination done up. Yes. But other than that, thank you so much for joining us and taking your precious time out during dinner and the weekday evening to join us. We truly appreciate it. And once again, thank you so much and see you in the next webinar.
Take care.
Thank
as
you.
well. Good night.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.